Hey folks, it's Andy and Ryan. We're out here in the shop today to talk about a 2016 Ram we've had here since we really started, and the truck's gone through a lot of transformation. It's been our test mule for the Ram platform for a lot of things. We want to walk you through and show you what we've done to this truck. Starting out, it is an AEV dual sport suspension lift. It's going to go through some transitions later on with some different springs. We've done a lot of things to enhance that by using airbags to carry the additional weight in the rear that are detachable with cradles. A lot of things just to make that suspension work really well from a utilitarian. It's not a boogie truck rated to launch over the desert, but it works really well for overlanding. You see the AEV upfit in the front. This is a diesel version, so it did not come with factory lockers. We have upgraded those axles to the Power Wagon lockers, which most people are familiar with. It's an electric version. We've installed those along with deeper gearing in those axle housings. We truss the front axle housing. The details you really don't see is all the power on this truck. We use a combination of control circuits. This particular one has the ARB Linx system. That controls those electric lockers that we added. It controls a lot of the lighting, controls the air up, air down for the tires, where you can set your tire pressure to a certain PSI and then automatically go right to that. Works really well for that. It's a fairly complicated system. Once you get it programmed though, it's really nice to be able to turn the lights on and off with automation, with your backup lights, headlights, things like that. This one actually has a disconnecting sway bar like a Power Wagon would. So it's electrically operated. You hit the switch, disconnects the sway bar, utilizing some OEM and some aftermarket parts. It works really well. Gives you a lot better control on a rig that carries more weight versus a aftermarket like Carly style sway bar that's meant more for suspension travel, things like that. On the back side here, Ryan can talk about the seat delete.
In the back here, we made our own seat delete kit. It's constructed of some aluminum tubing, and then we have exterior grade plywood on top of that, and then we carpeted that. We found that the Linx material is pretty slippery, so things just kind of slide around the more you drive. So the carpet works good. We have access doors, pretty simple. You still get underneath. We have another panel on the back wall that we're utilizing to conceal some more 12-volt sockets. We have a 12-volt socket that runs off the main battery, and then we have another 12-volt socket that runs off our auxiliary battery. So we have different options of which battery we want to use. As we come along here, we have our flatbed, all aluminum construction. Each of our flatbeds are kind of designed for the specific vehicle. It's not a one-size-fits-all platform. We take the time to make sure like these angles match the cab. You look at the bottom of the box, it hits this line. You look at this line and it matches that line on the vehicle. So whether it's a Ram, a Ford, a Chevy, those dimensions and angles all kind of change. Here you can see our diesel fill, and then we have our DEF fill. These are integrated into the headache rack instead of having them on the side, so it flows and fills a lot better.
On this particular truck, we pulled the factory tank and swapped to a Titan oversized tank. It's 54 gallons versus, you know, depending on the truck model, they might be 35 to 42. So get a lot more extended range.
And that Titan fuel tank doesn't conflict with our 22-gallon fresh water tank in the rear.
Correct, because our water tank in the rear is actually in the place of the spare tire back there with its own integrated skid plate, its own. It basically tucks back up in there right where the tire was, frame rail to frame rail, tapered at the back for clearance, and allows for that basically dead space, because once you go to a 37-inch tire, which most people, that's the smallest tire we put on these builds, that spare tire space is useless at that point. So that water tank takes up a makes good use of some wasted space. So that water tank, Ryan can talk about it a little bit more. We go through a pretty particular process since it is an aluminum tank, and you want to be able to have potable water, not just water to do dishes or take a shower.
Yeah, it's an aluminum tank. It's constructed of 3/16 aluminum, fully welded inside and out, so it's super strong. And then we do a food grade powder coating on inside and out, and then we silicone the lid on with food grade silicone. That prevents any contaminant and corrosion from the aluminum. That tank then has a drain bung on the bottom. And like he said, it's got a 1/4-inch steel skid plate that fully protects that entire thing, all the sides. And then it straps up to the frame. It uses some flag nuts that drop into the frame rails and a couple additional ones. It's super strong, frame mounted, you can hit it.
So what do folks do with their tire on these trucks, Ryan?
That's another question I'll get when we're in that design phase. We do like the big basket that goes in the receiver tube. That's one option. Another option we do often is like a cage that the tire can go into. It'll slide into a cage and that gets strapped to that. And that's usually a quarter of the truck. And then to offset that dead space on the other side of the truck, a lot of our customers are doing a small box, usually 20 inches wide, 40 inches tall. Matches the height of the headache rack, usually just wide enough that to match the same width as the tire assembly in that tire cage. Yeah. That's one option. And then sometimes they just strap them to the top, sometimes they strap them to the bottom. We're building a rack, a bed rack that supports a rooftop tent. And inside of that rack, we're storing the tire there. So,
those are a little harder to get out when you get up there. That's a little high in the air, but these side ones work out really well, especially with flatbed campers, and that's normally on a little longer bed. This is a fairly short, this is a short bed truck, so that does constrict some of the things you can do, and it ends up typically going on the back, I think, in this case. But 8-foot bed truck with a 6-foot camper or 6.5-foot camper, then you have that headache rack space. So Ryan, tell me more about how we put these beds together and what makes our beds superior to the other ones.
Yeah. As I was saying before, we have some in-house extrusions that we came up with. This is our perimeter rail, so that's what you see right here. It's nice and thick, a little bit thicker at the bottom, a little bit thicker up here. Gets thin so we can weld it to our flooring. Our flooring is also an extrusion. It's about 5-inch plank. It's got a center I-beam. This design makes it a lot stronger than some of our competitors. Some of our competitors might just do like a sheet of aluminum on top. Some might do something similar to this, but they won't have the close ribbing that we have. And that just makes it stronger. You can beat it up, you can drop stuff, you can use it for work, you can use it for camping. As I was saying with our headache rack, how it follows and goes through the bed, and that's so we can make it strong. So you can kind of see here where it passes through the floor and then gets welded here and here. And then afterwards, we even plate that more. That plate is what supports these boxes. Here you can see a 3-inch I-beam. And this isn't like a standard I-beam. This is also another one of our extrusions. A lot of I-beams are thinner in the middle, so we kind of redesigned it to make it thicker, stronger. So it's not off-the-shelf parts. That's what kind of sets ours apart. People say aluminum flatbeds won't last. There's tons of aluminum semi-beds. It's all on how you make something and how you take the additional steps with gussets and proper welding technique. So aluminum flatbeds will last a long time. They'll outlast a steel bed.
Won't be leaving rust particles everywhere when you drive around?
No, I can't say that it's much lighter than steel, because you can have a cheap steel flatbed or a good steel flatbed, and same with aluminum. Yeah. With all of these thicknesses for strength, it adds a little bit of weight, but a full-size truck like this, it doesn't even know it's there. Yeah.
I noticed that if you look at a lot of your less expensive ones, you'll see a big old gusset in the corner that's pretty ugly, but that's why they hold their headache rack.
They bolt on their headache rack. So if you had a load, you came to a stop and your load hit, we don't want it going through the cab. So we want this to be really strong. We have some L-track that's integrated. This allows you to, I don't know if you've tried to strap something down by yourself and your hook falls off one side when you're the other side of the truck. So we use these ratchet straps that we have made up. They got the clip in there, so now I could go to the other side and it's not going to fall off. So these are really handy. We have these made for us. Yep. A couple of different lengths. Stainless ratchet. So that's something you usually don't see, is even the material is stainless, so they don't corrode, rust, get jammed up.
Yeah, that was kind of a lucky find. We got them shipped, and we didn't even know they existed, and they happened to ship us some with stainless, and that's been our standard since then. Ryan was talking a little bit about weight. There's about 600 pounds of bed here, 650 pounds as you see it. So it gives you an idea of the overall weight of it. Yes, it is not as light as the bed you took off, but it's not exorbitantly heavy, where a steel bed would just be every bit as heavy, if not more sometimes. And again, all that rust and things that happen. And you know, we try to make sure all of our hardware, every time you see a screw, that's all stainless steel.
And we send out to get blackened, like we take that extra step.
Yeah, you can see they're all oxidized black, and that's just simply for aesthetics and to keep it looking clean and sexy along with the lines of everything else.
Yeah, you don't want a black bed with a bunch of silver bullets everywhere.
Silver bullets everywhere, yeah, exactly.
This is a Line X finish. We don't offer this. Now we've gone towards a powder coat. The powder coat's a much better product. It also kind of shaved a little bit of weight. That Line X coating was very heavy.
Yes.
It is durable, but the powder coat is easy to fix. If you rub it up against a tree or something, this urethane coating is very difficult to fix, but with the powder coating, we have some color match textured spray paint. You just spritz it. You can build it up, block it down, and then just dust it. So it's easy for the average person to fix.
It's a hybrid powder, so the texture is actually like little plastic particulates on there. So when it gets bumped, it just knocks those down, or it just catches those, and you end up with maybe a little mar and not a big scratch. And that's why we take so many steps to avoid that problem with every piece of hardware, every little thing that goes in there, because it'll get you down the road. And that's where people cut corners a lot of times.
Use a cheap zinc bolt. It's just gonna rot the aluminum out.
It'll rot completely around that bolt. We see it when we have one come in that's been done by someone else, or even short term, in a year's time, you'll see corrosion starting to develop there. These latches look a little different than what you see too. Ryan, you want to talk about the type style of latch we use?
We do use a compression latch, so it helps draw the door in nice and tight into our gasket. It's beneficial, and then the way we make our door, you can make a strong latch, but if your door is weak, the latch isn't going to do anything. So our doors are double panned, so that means they're super rigid. You can't flex them, but that allows that full pressure to be evenly distributed around that gasket. Our boxes have rubber mat in the bottom, so that way when you are throwing stuff in there, it's not sliding around, it's not scratching that powder coat finish we were talking about. Makes it easy to just take that mat out and kind of dump the dirt out. This is kind of the heart of the electric package for all of our auxiliary stuff. And I'll let Andy explain a lot of that.
So these become very custom in nature. There's a lot of people that make panels, switch panels, they make that third battery setup. What we find is there's a lot of great solutions in general out there, but none of them are very specific to the vehicle. So we end up, most of the time, it becomes a full custom system to allow for what the customer wants to use. In this situation, we'll zoom in here a little bit, you'll see all the different pieces and parts. So basically we have a Garmin switch controller here. It works from your phone, Bluetooth, controls all the exterior lighting, the water pump, things like that, where we want to run them off of this third battery versus something on the truck. You see the 135 amp hour Dakota Lithium battery back there. It's charged by a Redarc DC Alpha charger, which is a really nice charger. That actually works also Bluetooth, so from your phone you can zoom right to it, tell where your battery condition is, how much life you have left in it. It's a fairly new item. We use a lot of Redarc stuff, very high quality, very cutting edge for a lot of things. Very durable. It's stood the test of time. It's Australian tested, so really like their product when it comes to inverters and DC to DC charging. The Garmin switch is really nice. From, you can be sitting at the campfire, grab your phone, hit that button, and turn some area lighting on just as quick as hitting that button. Boom, lights are on. This one has the Starlink built into it for the charging system for it and power system. You see we have a little voltage meter, switch fuse panel here. This is a pretty unique one. It's a really tight space, and that's why we end up going all custom, is because most panels are really large and you just can't stick that in where you want to put it in this tapered small box. So lots of different systems, every application. We start with the customer's needs and wants and build upon that to figure out what works out best for them. As you come around to the back, you can start to see some of those other features of the bed. These are our water system ports here. It's by Aquar. It's a really nice, instead of your traditional thread-on hose thing that you fight with, these stick in quarter turn. It's like a quick connect on your air compressor. We can use them to fill, or we can use them to empty. You can use it as a gravity drain, use them as a power fill, or this one has a pressurized pump that's underneath here in a Pelican case. So winterization is easy as a couple of quick connects, drain the tank, put the pump in your garage so you don't have to worry about any type of winterization. Ryan was talking about some of that power options. We have an outlet right here that's on a big Anderson plug built into this. That way you can plug in like a trailer mounted winch, or if you really need some serious power back here, even a portable winch that runs off of the trailer hitch works out really well for that. We went away from the drawer system back here. They become problematic. I'm sure Ryan will give you the horror story.
You lose so much space with all those drawer glides. And because of our fabrication technique, it really doesn't allow for a big drawer. So you just start chasing small dimensions, just trying to get a drawer, and a cubby box is a lot simpler. In this cubby box, we have an air chuck. We also have our control for our water pumps. That way it's close to those spigots. Like you said, we have these tubes, so some of our customers build out baskets. They might carry a spare tire with the camper in front of that. Sometimes it's just temporary for like maybe some firewood on a trip. They just need a little bit more storage. We've had customers extend their bed for like if they put a box and then they want to get a motorcycle up there, they need a little bit more strength. So those receiver tubes are pretty darn strong. They're integrated into all the aluminum that's underneath, tied to the long sills that run front to back. So this platform is pretty neat because the next evolution on this is a rack with a lot of boxes. And then probably after that, it might get like a four-wheel camper or one of those styles. You can see from this angle, some of those boat side angles I was talking about. That's what we're talking about, matching the body line of each specific vehicle. The same with this back angle. It also, kind of add a little style, add a little more clearance. There's no sense in really cutting this any higher because you're going to start hitting hitches and stuff like that. So we want more storage than higher clearance on some of these builds.
Little detail here that's really nice. A lot of work, but it really holds that camera well. You see it's not a box screwed on the back or hanging down. This is all aluminum welded up, formed, ground down, all fit in there for that camera.
And that way you don't drop
when you drop something off the back of your bed, you're not going to take that camera out with it. So a lot of work, but it's just a sweet detail. Same way with the tail lights, they're completely flush with this rail all pocketed in there. Real hard to damage a tail light in that aspect instead of one of the giant ones that have a big hole at first tree branch, it pokes it and busts the plastic.
And they look nice.
And these look really nice. You even have a little integrated backup light in them as well. You can see the extra backup lights we kind of incorporated into that skirt, your normal 7-way stuff. Just try to keep it as clean as possible. You see the L-track up on top of the bed with the mat in between there just to kind of level it out, give it a little bit smoother surface if you're trying to slide stuff up on there. So the beds are popular for sure. That's it's definitely a big part of what's going on now in the overlanding world. Seeing more and more flatbed style campers or truck campers on a truck that can go anywhere they want to go. And this is just a great way to start with a truck where you have a very capable truck. Now you can stick a very comfortable camper on there versus a rooftop tent.
And that's what most people are evolving from right now.
They are.
They started with the rooftop tents, then they want a little bit more space, a little more comfort. So a lot of people are evolving into the camper life.
So we want to talk about the lighting on the front of this Ram. Again, lighting is one of those things that it can be very specific to the customer. It can be very specific to their driving style and their application. So it's not just a matter of what looks cool or what they saw online because that looked like a great light. We really try to get specific about, hey, do you drive in the snow? Do you drive in the dust? Is it all around? Are you fast driving at night? How much range do you really need? And you typically need a combination of lighting. So on this particular truck, that's exactly what we have here. We have a combination of Vision X and Baja Designs lighting, both very high-end brands. We also have a combination of covers to help, again, adapt to all those different applications. So Ryan, show you right there, we snap off a clear cover, works great just to protect the light. The amber cover helps cut down the glare and things like that when it's dusty outside. You can see we have some other dedicated amber lights with the driving lights for the fogs. So those are some Baja Designs. Those are actually just on an independent switch, so you can use those at any time. Basically, all this stuff is set up to either be triggered through the Linx system, which we'll talk about in a minute, or maybe on an independent switch. Again, depending on how you want to kick that light on. Do you want it automatic? Do you want to be able to always manually turn that on? So we can dial those things in. Out here on the outside, we have these large ones that are on the factory fog circuit. But those are also dimmable because they are so bright, they're too much to use on the road. So with the Linx system, we dial that down and you can pick whatever brightness level you want to come on with those lights. These here, we've got them set with the amber and the clear. Again, some for dust, some for more distance. It's really working with the different lighting manufacturers in creating that effect that you want at the end of the day. So the Linx system we use on this truck, this controls the lighting. We can zoom in here on it a little bit. So you actually have labeling on these switches, call them whatever you want. That way when you touch them, boom, that particular light comes on. If you want a backlight on the lights, you can control them. Really anything on the truck as far as lighting, this thing has the ability to control that. There are also, you can see some lighted corners here. These are nice because that's a trigger system, and we have this one set up so when you hit the high beams, these outer big bright lights will come on right with the high beams. So you have no reason to go over and have to turn your lights on and off while you're driving at night. This will do it for you. So it's super nice in that aspect. You can do it with backup lights because when you put it in reverse, you can make parking lights, make the backup lights come on. It just has a lot of versatility. As you go through it, it'll monitor up to 3 batteries. This is the air suspension we talked about. It controls those airbags with this. You can pre-program it for different loads. Then your lockers. We turn the compressor on from here. The ignition's off, so it won't come on right now. And that's another thing you can do is control power management with this so that you don't accidentally leave your compressor on and run your battery dead. But the lockers, just like ARB, you turn on the rear, then it'll allow you to turn on the front afterwards. So nice system. It does work really well. It can be a little quirky at times. It's complicated. You know, it's basically a phone with a computer inside that everything's fed through inputs and outputs. But it does integrate well with an S-Pod or any of the other control systems that we use to power those things. This is really, it's not like a true power distribution. It's really just a switching system that allows us to control things. Like this truck has 2 low, where it's an automatic switch that you hit. It disconnects the front axle connection, so that allows you to have 2 low, which is a really popular option on dirt roads where you need more gear to get up the mountain, but you don't really want 4-wheel drive and fight that steering the whole time. This one, you don't fight the steering because it actually has hydraulic assist incorporated into it as well. So the steering box has been ported. It has an additional cylinder on that front axle to control that. We mentioned the locking sway bar. That can be controlled from here. This truck has so many options. We have independent switches in the dash for the 2 low and the locker. But if you didn't have as many lights, something like that can be controlled from this as well.
You can also monitor your fridge from that?
That's true, yes. This has it's Bluetooth connected to everything. So if you have an ARB fridge freezer, that's another screen. ARB makes TPMSs. Say your truck didn't have TPMS, you can use their sensors. This will act as the TPMS module, or say you're pulling a trailer. That's another option as well with this. It can actually tag onto those. So very powerful system, as long as you have somebody who can set it up for you and get all those things tied together, because they are kind of, you know, they're very a la carte. It's not a whole system. You buy it in one piece, you buy it piece by piece as you need. Again, that goes back to that initial conversation. What all do you want your truck to do? What all options are you planning for? Is it just a basic, you know, drive on the highway kind of rig, or is this something you really are going to take deep into the woods? You know, truck brand is everyone's preference. Our ideas are to take whatever your platform that you enjoy and make it work for you and give you the comforts and the conveniences that you really want on those journeys out there.
Yeah, so give us a call or look us up at nuthouseindustries.com.